that tarnished, it seemeth.
I was tempted by your smile. I was tempted, and for a little while I was certain that I will be the one to change you, and you will be mine. You will be mine.
Shadow of the Erdtree? Yeah, it's good. Because of course it is. If the release of Elden Ring back in the beginning of 2022 wasn't any indication that From Software is one of the best video game publishers of the modern era, then I don't know what is. Being a massive critical and commercial success, as well as winning Game of the Year, along with a myriad of other rewards, it's safe to say that those brilliant bastards know what they're doing. They have quite the incredible track record, casually dropping one banger RPG after another over the course of this decade, and their downloadable content is widely agreed to be even more bombastic and over the top from their base games, rest in peace Demon's Souls and Sekiro. So when it comes to Elden Ring's DLC, to say I was excited was an understatement. I had been introduced to the Souls games a whole year before Elden Ring came out, and to be an avid fan hungry for more, right on the cusp of From's biggest and most ambitious project yet was an incredible feeling. And I loved it. Shocker, right? And now, 2 years later, after 2 full playthroughs and a couple dozen hours of pure, unfiltered Shadow of the Erdtree, I can confidently and safely say that they've done it again. It's every bit as good as the main game and then some, with the grandiose world catching your sight at every turn, the exploration being full of surprises, and the bosses ascending into the heavens to become some of the greatest fights this franchise has to offer. Here's a mini retrospective of my time with it so far. I absolutely loved the new leveling system in the form of the scatter tree fragments and revered spirit ashes. You can't just barrel through the DLC like you could in past games, basically just running from point A to point B. Here, you have to travel to every nook and cranny of the Realm of Shadow to even the odds. Unless you want Relana to step on you, be my guest. And believe me when I say that these items do make the difference. They greatly affect your damage output and damage negation. Imagine if the buffs carried over to the main game, Melania would run for the hills. And just like Sacred Tears and Golden Seeds, you can get lots of these things out the gate, being able to get your Scatter Tree blessing to plus 16 before killing a single Remembrance boss. There's no new physic tier to play with, but that's okay. The dozens of new spells and hundreds of new weapons are more than good enough. It may seem like a chore having to run around every new playthrough, but there's even more eye candy than in the lands between, and it's all glorious. I never get bored with any of the areas in the Realm of Shadow, and they're all amazing to visually digest. The enemies you'll meet here also do a good job at taking the Scatter Tree fragment grind away. Some of the basic ones you'd expect by now, but most of them are fucking bananas. Even at high Scattertree blessing levels, they pack so much of a punch. They make it exceedingly difficult to run through the levels and keep you on your toes 24/7. Speaking of, the level design is right on par with the quality in the base game, with the world design being fragmented, broken, uneven. It really feels like there's been irreversible damage done to the landmass here, with the countless plateaus that go up and down surrounding each other. I loved how some of the catacomb dungeons didn't have an anticlimactic end to them. The Darklight catacombs takes you to a whole new area, the Abyssal Woods, being a contender for the most terrifying area I've ever seen in From Software's games. These fucking things take a lot of credit for that, basically being frenzified winter lanterns. Brushing up against one of the plants as you're hiding from them in the bushes damn near made me shit a brick. The same can be said for Jagged Peak, as the Dragon Pit catacombs blocks you from reaching this area. The eternal red hue in the sky, along with the rushing winds and thunderclaps, absolutely blew me away on my first visit. But the level and world design and field enemies are not the only thing that blew me away. The bosses, quite simply, are insane. 10 new remembrances join the fray, and in all honesty, I love every single one a lot. There's not a single bad or even outright mediocre remembrance boss in Shadow of the Erdtree, and they make for some of the most memorable and exhilarating battles in Elden Ring, and in all of the games as a whole. You can fight them in any order, with only 2 of them being required in order to reach the final boss. They function identically to the ones in the base game, having lengthy combos and delayed swings and strikes that are hell-bent on faking you out. And their presentation has been sharpened to its finest edge yet. with the music and environment flooring me with every new boss without fail. The Scattertree avatar, Romina, and Mater were a beautiful mix of repulsive and drop-dead gorgeous. Midra has graceful, deliberate spear swings, but wildly dangerous and intimidating frenzy spells. Commander Gaius is like a draconic tree sentinel on steroids, and Bale the Dread is unbelievably ferocious, clawing at you relentlessly with the most jaw-dropping transformation in the second phase that can only be matched by few. I don't know what the public consensus is for this one, but I personally loved everything about the Putrescent Knight, from the moveset to the design of the boss itself to the long drop down into the Dark Eater Midir-esque arena. I don't know if it was a coincidence or a clever tipping of the hat, but it was dope regardless. And of course, the bosses heavily advertised in the trailers were certainly no slouch either. The Divine Beast Dancing Lion is crazy fun. It's more like a human centipede hybrid with a lion mask on its head, and it moves like one too. It reminds me a lot of the Dancer of the Boreal Valley from Dark Souls 3, but incredibly cursed. We saw that it had the ability to harness lightning, but the other two elemental switch-ups were heart-stopping and a treat to feast my eyes on. It's like if you decided to brutally rip Serosh off Godfrey's back and Joseph mangled his corpse back together beyond recognition. This one is definitely going to stand the test of time just as well as the others for how much of a memorable piece of nightmare fuel it is. From the moment I saw her in the release trailer, I knew that Rolana was immediately certified in the Soulsborne Hall of Fame. She easily makes for the best one-on-one Souls-like duel since Sister Frida and one of the best sword fights in a Souls-like period. She has the long, angry combo chains of Black Flame Frida, the raw power of Lady Maria, and the devilishly timed swings of Pontiff Sullivan. Not to mention, she jacked his drip. The fire and magic sword duo makes a spectacular return, with the colors and technique being every bit vibrant and captivating. Long story short, it will take lots of patience. Rolana also gets memorability points for being most likely the first boss you face in the DLC, and subsequently, she's also the first boss that you got packed up and completely humbled by. Double rainbow all the way. And that brings us to the infamous, the big one, the main selling point in all three trailers. Mesmer the Impaler is one of the GOATs, plain and simple. His arsenal is immensely satisfying and exciting to learn, and really lives up to the hype that all of the trailers set for the fanbase. He just looks, attacks, and sounds like a champion, a top-tier boss in the From Software time continuum. Mesmer embodies the hard but fair ideology that the franchise is renowned for, as his delayed stabs and grab aren't so egregious and stupid looking. His big snakes in the second phase may look janky when attacking, but I found the hitboxes on them to be perfectly fine. His fire punishes you for rolling away from him, forcing you to dodge into him and get up in his face. Simply put, one of the best to ever do it. 10s across the board, baby. The final challenge that the DLC throws at you is a doozy. Not only do you get to fight General Radahn himself again, but you get to fight him in his prime. It really feels like it too. They expanded on his original moveset to cement his legendary status, and also add in some Godfrey and Moog influence as well. I think it's all excellent, but just like Malenia, it's the second phase that's the real killer. Paying homage to Lorien and Lothric, Miquella clings to Radahn's back, adding a slew of new attacks as well as pillars of light that appear perpendicular to each of Radahn's sword swings. I hated this phase at first, as I thought it was unfair and too visually busy, but after lots of trial and error, it finally clicked, having one of those notorious eureka moments when playing these games, especially Sekiro. Fittingly, you can't allow Miquella to charm you with his power, as it looks like it's impossible to deal with, but in reality, Radahn's combos are exactly the same from the first phase, so use that to your advantage. They also brought Radahn's iconic meteor explosion from his original fight back too, which I think doesn't deal any damage? Huh, we take those. Overall, it's an extraordinary way to end the DLC. So extra, over the top, and filled with passion that it nearly brought water to my eyes. It's obviously outstanding from a gameplay perspective, but let me mention the lore side of things. Am I disappointed that we didn't get something like Godwyn or the Glowmide Queen? No, not really. It would have been cool, sure, but I'm just grateful that we got anything at all. The people at From Software could have sat on their asses bathing in all the money and accolades Elden Ring was making them, but they chose to give us just a little extra as thanks. Or they just wanted to make more money, as humans often do. So I've got nothing to complain about. In fact, I have a feeling that it's only going to get bigger and better from here. I don't see how they can top Elden Ring and its DLC's resounding and unadulterated success. But hey, if that same success isn't any indication that From Software isn't one of the best video game publishers in the modern era, then I don't know what is.